I'll never forget the night a billionaire walked into my restaurant and called me gutter trash in Japanese. He thought I couldn't understand. He thought I was just another waitress. But what he didn't know would cost him everything. Let me tell you what happened next. Before I continue, hit that subscribe button because what you're about to hear will shock you. Watch till the very end. The revenge is something you don't want to miss. Hi, I'm Ava, and this is the story of the worst and best night of my life. You know that beautiful restaurant downtown? The one with the cherry blossom trees outside and the warm golden lights that make everyone feel welcome? Yeah, that's mine. Well, ours actually. My husband Hiroshi and I built it together, brick by brick, dream by dream. People always ask me the same question when they find out I own the place. Why are you still working the floor? Why aren't you sitting in some fancy office? And honestly, I get it. Most restaurant owners hire managers and disappear into the background. But that's not me. This restaurant isn't just a business to me. It's my heart, my soul, my identity. I greet the guests, I train the staff, I serve the tables. These hands that hold the wine bottles, they're the same hands that signed the lease 5 years ago when Hiroshi and I were terrified but hopeful. Let me tell you how we got here. Hiroshi is Japanese, a brilliant businessman who came to this country with nothing but ambition and a suitcase. We met at a coffee shop where I was working my way through college. He was studying for his MBA, and I was juggling 3 part-time jobs trying to pay tuition. We fell in love over shared dreams and instant ramen dinners. He'd tell me about Tokyo, about his family's small restaurant back home, about wanting to build something meaningful. And I'd tell him about my dream of creating a place where people felt like family, where food brought people together. 5 years of saving every penny. 5 years of eating cheap meals and living in a tiny apartment. 5 years of believing in something bigger than ourselves. And then we did it. We opened our restaurant. Hiroshi handles the business side. He's incredibly successful now, respected in corporate circles, making deals that I barely understand. But me? I wanted to be here, in the heart of it all, making sure every guest felt special, making sure our dreams stayed alive in the details. And it worked. Within 2 years, we were fully booked weeks in advance. Food critics loved us. Regular customers became friends. We built something beautiful, something real. Our staff wasn't just employees, they were family. And I made sure everyone knew that working here meant something. It meant dignity, respect, and fair treatment. It was a Saturday evening, our busiest night of the week. The restaurant was packed, every table full of laughter and conversation. Hiroshi was in Tokyo for an important business deal, some merger that required his personal attention. He'd called me that morning, apologizing for missing our busiest night, but I'd laughed it off. "I've got this," I told him. "You go make us proud." The kitchen was humming perfectly, the servers were in sync, and I was floating between tables, checking on guests, making sure everything was flawless. That's when he walked in. I was at table 5, refilling water glasses and chatting with the Martinez family, lovely people who came every Saturday, when I heard the front door open with more force than necessary. Everyone's heads turned. You know that feeling when someone enters a room and the energy just shifts? That's what happened. The man who walked in wore wealth-like armor. Expensive gray suit, probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Gold watch catching the light. Shoes so polished they reflected the chandelier. But here's what I noticed immediately. His eyes. Cold. Entitled. The kind of eyes that looked at people and saw price tags, not human beings. Behind him came 3 other men, clearly business associates, all dressed similarly but lacking his aggressive confidence. They moved like a pack, and he was obviously the leader. Our hostess, sweet young Katie, approached with her warmest smile. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to— I need your best table. Now." His voice cut through her greeting like a knife through butter. "No please, no courtesy, just demand." Katie's smile faltered slightly, but she recovered. "Of course, sir. Let me check our—" "I don't care what you need to check. Move someone if you have to. Do you know who I am?" He pulled out his phone, waving it like a weapon. "One call and I can destroy this place's reputation." I watched this from across the room, my jaw tightening. But Katie handled it professionally, seating them at one of our premium tables by the window. I made a mental note to give her a bonus. As they settled in, I assigned the table to Maya, one of our newest servers. She was only 20, working 2 jobs to support her sick mother. Sweet girl, hard-working, always early for her shifts. She'd only been with us for 3 weeks, still learning, still building her confidence. I watched as Maya approached their table, notepad ready, that nervous but genuine smile on her face. "Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Maya, and I'll be—" Finally. "Do you have any idea how long we've been waiting?" The man, I later learned his name was Mr. Crawford, didn't even look up from his phone. "Bring me your wine list, and it better be impressive." "Right away, sir." Maya's voice was steady, but I could see her hands trembling slightly as she handed him the leather-bound wine menu. What happened next made my blood simmer. He flipped through it, making exaggerated sighs of disappointment. "This is it? These are your wines?" He looked at his friends, laughing. "I've seen better selections at a gas station." His companions laughed dutifully, like trained seals. Maya stood there, professional smile frozen on her face. "Sir, we actually have an award-winning wine collection. Our sommelier, personally—" "Did I ask for your opinion? Just bring me the most expensive bottle, though I'm sure it'll still be mediocre." He tossed the menu at her, literally tossed it, making her fumble to catch it. I started moving toward their table, but our manager Paul caught my arm gently. "Ava, I'll handle it. You know how some customers are." He meant well. Paul always did. He'd been with us since opening day, loyal and protective. But I shook my head. "Just give me a minute. Let's see if he calms down." I wanted to give this man the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was having a bad day. Maybe he'd settle once he got his wine. I was so wrong. For the next 20 minutes, I watched Mr. Crawford systematically dismantle Maya's confidence piece by piece. The wine wasn't cold enough, so he made her take it back. The appetizers were peasant food, even though they were the same dishes food critics had praised in 3 major publications. He snapped his fingers at her like she was a dog, actually snapped his fingers. When she brought the entrees, he claimed they were cold, even though I could see the steam rising from the plates. He demanded she remake everything, then barely touched the new dishes. But the worst part? The way he looked at her, like she was invisible, like she was nothing. His friends followed his lead, making jokes at her expense, laughing when she had to bend down to clean up the napkin he'd accidentally knocked to the floor. Other guests at nearby tables were starting to notice, whispering among themselves, looking uncomfortable. Then it happened. The thing that changed everything. Maya was refilling his water glass, for the 4th time because he kept claiming it wasn't cold enough, when he suddenly shifted in his seat. His elbow knocked his wine glass, sending red wine cascading across the white tablecloth and onto his expensive suit pants. For a split second, I thought maybe this would humble him, make him realize accidents happen. Instead, he exploded. "You stupid girl, look what you did!" He stood up, making a scene, his voice carrying across the entire restaurant. Everyone stopped eating, stopped talking, all eyes on their table. "Sir, I'm so sorry, Maya's face had gone completely white. "Sorry? Sorry? Do you have any idea how much this suit costs? More than you make in a year, probably." He grabbed a napkin and made exaggerated motions of cleaning himself. This is what happens when restaurants hire incompetent staff. You're absolutely worthless. I saw Maya's eyes fill with tears. She was trying so hard not to cry, biting her lip, hands shaking. "Please, sir, I'll get you—" "Get out of my sight. You're pathetic." He waved her away like she was a fly. That's when Maya broke. She turned and practically ran toward the back, tears streaming down her face. And that's when I moved. I found her in the staff room, sitting on the floor, sobbing into her hands. The moment she saw me, she tried to stand up, tried to pull herself together. "Miss Ava, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. Please don't fire me." I sat down next to her on the floor, right there in my dress, and put my arm around her shoulders. "Maya, sweetie, look at me." She raised her tear-stained face. "You did nothing wrong. Nothing. Do you hear me? But I spilled the wine and he's so angry and I need this job, Miss Ava. My mother's medical bills. Her voice cracked. Something inside me shifted. Actually, no, it didn't shift. It crystallized into pure determination. Your job is safe, I promise you that, but that man out there, he doesn't get to treat my family like this. You stay here. Take all the time you need. I'm going to handle this. Paul was waiting outside the staff room looking worried. Ava, maybe we should just comp his meal, offer him a gift certificate, smooth things over quietly. No. My voice was calm, but there was steel in it. I didn't build this restaurant to bow down to bullies, Paul. Nobody, and I mean nobody, treats my staff like garbage in my own house. But, Ava, he's connected. I heard him on the phone earlier. He knows people, powerful people. I don't care if he knows the president. What kind of owner would I be if I let someone destroy one of my employees and did nothing? What message does that send to Maya, to our other staff? That money and power mean you can be cruel? No, not here, not ever. I walked back into the dining room and every eye followed me. The restaurant had that thick, uncomfortable silence that comes when everyone's witnessed something ugly. Mr. Crawford was back in his seat, still complaining loudly to his friends, making sure everyone could hear how appalling the service was. I approached his table with a smile on my face, but fire in my heart. Good evening, sir. I'm Ava, the owner of this restaurant. I understand there's been an issue? He looked up at me, and I watched his eyes travel from my face down to my simple work dress, and back up, assessment and dismissal happening in seconds. Then he laughed. Actually laughed in my face. Owner? You're the owner? He looked at his friends for confirmation that this was as absurd as he found it. Let me guess, you married some rich guy and now you're playing restaurant owner? That's cute. I kept my smile. I'd appreciate it if you'd treat my staff with respect, sir. Respect? That incompetent girl spilled wine all over me. This suit costs $15,000. He gestured dramatically at the barely visible stain. Actually, sir, if you review the situation, your elbow knocked the glass when you moved suddenly. It was an accident. These things happen. His face turned an interesting shade of red. Are you calling me a liar? I'm simply stating what happened, and regardless of how the wine spilled, there's no excuse for the way you spoke to her. She's been trying her best to serve you all evening, despite your challenging behavior. That's when everything changed. His expression shifted from angry to something else, something calculated and mean. He looked at his friends and said something in Japanese, and they all started laughing. Here's what that man didn't know about me. My husband Hiroshi, he's not just Japanese by birth, he's deeply connected to his culture, his language, his heritage. And from the day we started dating, he insisted I learn Japanese. Not just a few phrases. Fluent Japanese, 5 years of daily lessons, of watching Japanese films together, of speaking it at home. He said if I was going to be part of his life, part of his family, I needed to understand his language, his culture. It was important to him, so it became important to me. So when Mr. Crawford switched to Japanese, assuming I was just another ignorant American who couldn't understand him, he made the biggest mistake of his life. Look at this pathetic woman, he said in Japanese, smiling at me like we were having a pleasant conversation. Pretending to be someone important. She probably can't even count past 10. His friends laughed, glancing at me to see if I understood. I didn't react, just kept that polite, patient smile on my face. He continued, getting bolder. These poor people, they open a restaurant and think they're successful. But they're just servants in fancy clothes. Look at her, probably got lucky with some rich foreigner. These women, they're all the same, using their looks to climb up from the gutter they belong in. Every word was a knife, but I didn't flinch, didn't move, just stood there, looking at him with that same calm expression. Because I learned something important from Hiroshi over the years. Patience is the sharpest weapon. Let your enemy reveal themselves completely before you strike. You know what the problem is with this country? Crawford continued in Japanese, really warming up to his subject now. Too many poor people thinking they're equal to us. That girl who served us? Gutter trash. And this one?" He gestured at me dismissively. "Probably the same. No education, no breeding, no real class. Just playing dress-up in a restaurant she probably doesn't even really own." He pointed directly at me then, making sure his friends saw. "These people, they're like rats in a nice building. They might look clean on the outside, but inside, still vermin, still worthless." She's standing there smiling like she's somebody, but we both know the truth. She's nothing. Probably can't even read properly. These poor people, they breed like animals and spread their poverty everywhere they go. The restaurant had gone completely quiet now. Everyone was watching this man speak in a foreign language to his friends while looking at me with such obvious contempt. Some people were filming on their phones. An elderly couple at the next table looked absolutely horrified, even though they couldn't understand his words. The tone was enough. He kept going. "Look at her face. So calm, so peaceful. She has no idea I'm destroying her right now. No idea I'm telling my friends that she's garbage, that this restaurant is a joke, that people like her should know their place, serving their betters, not pretending to be equals." His friends were laughing harder now, one of them adding his own comment in Japanese. "Maybe she should go back to the kitchen where she belongs." Crawford nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. These women, they should stick to what they're good for. Cleaning, serving, staying quiet. Not trying to run businesses or act like they matter. She's probably someone's mail-order bride, and now she's playing entrepreneur. It's embarrassing to watch." I stood there through all of it, every insult, every slur, every degrading word. My hands were shaking slightly, but not from fear or hurt, from pure, concentrated rage that I was barely holding back. But I'd learned from Hiroshi. I'd learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait. Watch. Let them hang themselves with their own rope. Crawford took a sip of water, looking pleased with himself. "The worst part is, she thinks she's being professional standing here taking this. She thinks she's better than that crying girl, but she's exactly the same. Worthless, ignorant, beneath us. The only difference is she's delusional enough to think she owns something." He looked directly into my eyes then, his smile cruel and confident. "You know what you are? You're a servant pretending to be an owner. You're poverty in an expensive dress. You're nothing, and you'll always be nothing. And the saddest part? You don't even know I'm saying this to your face." That's when I smiled. Really smiled. And I saw something flicker in his eyes. Confusion, maybe a hint of concern. "Sir," I said in perfect English, my voice calm and professional, "is everything to your satisfaction with your meal?" His confusion deepened. I was still smiling, still professional, even after he'd spent 5 minutes verbally destroying me in what he thought was a secret language. "Yes, the food is adequate," he said in English, thrown off by my composure. "Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. Please continue enjoying your evening." I gave a small bow, the traditional Japanese gesture of respect, and walked away. Behind me, I heard him say to his friends in Japanese, "See? Completely clueless. These people are so simple." What Mr. Crawford didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Paul, my brilliant manager, had been recording everything, not for any malicious reason initially. Paul had started recording when Crawford first started making a scene, just as documentation in case the man tried to sue us or make false claims later. It's something we'd learned to do with particularly difficult customers. But when Crawford switched to Japanese, when he started his verbal assault, Paul had his phone out, capturing everything. And more importantly, Paul had done something I didn't know about until later. He'd called Hiroshi. Video call. Paul took his phone to the back office and showed Hiroshi everything that was happening. My husband, thousands of miles away in Tokyo, watched this man insult his wife in their shared language. Watched me stand there, taking it, staying professional. Watched this billionaire call me gutter trash, vermin, worthless. Paul told me later that he'd never seen Hiroshi like that. My husband is usually warm, expressive, quick to laugh, but watching that video, he went completely silent, completely still. His face turned to ice. "I'm coming," was all Hiroshi said. "Don't let him leave. I'm coming now. Paul checked his watch. Sir, you're in Tokyo. Even if you left now, it would take... I'm already at the airport. My flight lands in 30 minutes. I'll be there in 45. He hung up. Later, I learned the full story. Hiroshi's business meeting had ended early. He was actually already on his return flight when Paul called, about to land. The timing was perfect, or as Hiroshi would say later, fate. Meanwhile, I had no idea any of this was happening. I was back at the table with Mr. Crawford, who was still riding high on his cruelty, still speaking Japanese freely. You know what's funny? He said to his companions in Japanese, loud enough that nearby tables could hear the foreign language even if they couldn't understand it. These restaurant owners, they think customer service means taking abuse. They think if they're nice enough, we'll come back. But people like me? We go wherever we want. We don't need this place. This place needs us. This woman needs my money, needs my approval, needs me to speak well of her little restaurant. Without people like me, she's nothing. One of his friends raised his glass. To knowing your place in the world. To being better than the help, Crawford added, clinking glasses. I'd returned to supervise the kitchen, needing a moment to breathe, to not scream, to stay professional. The chef, Roberto, took one look at my face and asked if everything was okay. That man is testing every bit of patience I have, I admitted quietly. Want me to accidentally burn his food? Roberto joked, but there was real anger in his eyes. He'd heard about Maya crying. Our whole staff was furious. No, I said. We're going to take the high road. We're going to serve him perfectly, treat him with respect, and show him what real class looks like. But Mr. Crawford wasn't done. When I came back out, he'd moved on from insulting me to insulting our other guests. An elderly gentleman at the next table had politely asked him to lower his voice, and Crawford had told him to mind his own business. When a family with young children walked past, he made comments in Japanese about breeding more poverty. The restaurant atmosphere had completely changed. Our regulars looked uncomfortable. Some were asking for their checks early, wanting to leave. This man was poisoning everything we'd built with his presence. That's when I heard it. The sound that changed everything. The front door opened, and I knew that footstep. I knew that presence. I'd have known it anywhere. Hiroshi. He walked in still wearing his business suit from Tokyo, his briefcase in one hand. His usually warm face was set in an expression I'd never seen before, calm but terrifying, like a perfectly still ocean before a tsunami. Everyone turned to look at him. There was something about the way he moved, the way he carried himself, that commanded attention. He wasn't rushing, wasn't dramatic, just walking with absolute purpose and certainty. Mr. Crawford, his back to the door, hadn't noticed yet. He was still talking, still laughing, still destroying people in Japanese. Hiroshi walked straight to their table. He stopped right beside Crawford, close enough that the man had to turn and look up. "Excuse me, can't you see we're—" Crawford started in English, annoyed at the interruption. Then Hiroshi spoke, in perfect, formal Japanese, the kind of Japanese that carries weight and authority. "I heard everything you said about my wife." The color drained from Crawford's face. Just disappeared. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. You speak Japanese?" It was barely a whisper. "I am Japanese." Hiroshi's voice was quiet, but it carried across the entire restaurant. "My name is Hiroshi Takeshi. Perhaps you've heard of Takeshi International?" Oh, everyone had heard of Takeshi International. It was one of the largest Japanese-owned corporations in the country. Billion-dollar contracts, international influence. And Crawford had just spent the last hour insulting the CEO's wife in the CEO's native language. Crawford's friends had already started to push their chairs back, trying to distance themselves, but Hiroshi wasn't done. "You called my wife gutter trash," Hiroshi said, still in Japanese, his tone conversational but deadly. "You said she was worthless, that she couldn't read, that she was vermin in a nice building, that she was poverty in an expensive dress. I didn't know. I thought," Crawford was stammering, sweating, You thought she couldn't understand. You thought you could abuse her in my language, in my culture's language, and there would be no consequences." Hiroshi smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "Let me tell you about my wife, the woman you just called ignorant. She has a master's degree in business administration from Harvard. The woman you said couldn't read, she speaks 5 languages fluently. The woman you called a servant, she owns this restaurant. Not because of me. She built this before I became successful, with her own money, her own work, her own vision." The entire restaurant was silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Hiroshi continued, and now he switched to English, so everyone could understand. "This restaurant that you called a joke? It's been rated in the top 10 restaurants in this city for 3 years running. Food critics fly in from other states to eat here. We're booked solid 8 weeks in advance. And the woman you spoke to with such contempt? She turned down investors, turned down franchising opportunities, because she wanted to keep this place authentic. Keep it about family and community, not profit." He pulled out his phone. "You know what I was doing when you were insulting her? I was watching. My manager called me. I saw and heard everything. Every word, every insult, every moment you thought you were getting away with it." Crawford tried to stand, but his legs seemed weak. "Mr. Takeshi, please, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean—" "You're not sorry you said it. You're sorry you got caught." Hiroshi's words cut like a blade. "There's a difference." Other guests were starting to applaud, slowly at first, then building. The elderly gentleman who'd asked Crawford to quiet down stood up and started clapping loudly. The family with children joined in. Soon the entire restaurant was applauding. But Hiroshi wasn't done. He made one phone call, right there in front of everyone. He spoke in Japanese, but this time Crawford understood every word, because it was about him. Hiroshi was calling Crawford's biggest business partner, a man named Mr. Yamamoto, who happened to be Hiroshi's close friend and colleague. The conversation was brief, professional, and devastating. By the time Hiroshi hung up, Crawford's face had gone from white to green. "That was Kenji Yamamoto," Hiroshi said calmly. "He and I have been friends for 20 years. That merger you've been working on with his company, the one worth $50 million? He's pulling out, effective immediately." "No, please, you can't—" Crawford was begging now. "I also took the liberty of sending the video of your behavior to several people in our business community. By tomorrow morning, every major Japanese company in this country will know what you said, how you behaved, and what kind of person you really are." Hiroshi's voice was steady, factual, just stating simple truths. "In Japan, we have a saying, 'The nail that sticks out gets hammered down.' You stuck out, Mr. Crawford. You showed everyone exactly who you are. Now you get to face the consequences." Crawford's friends had already left, slipping out quietly while everyone was distracted. Even they knew to abandon a sinking ship. "Please, Mr. Takeshi, I have a family. I have businesses. I can't afford—" "You should have thought about that before you called someone's wife vermin. Before you made a young girl cry, before you spent an hour showing everyone in this restaurant that money doesn't buy class, character, or basic human decency." Hiroshi turned to Paul. "Please escort Mr. Crawford out. He's no longer welcome here." Security, yes, we have security on busy nights, appeared as if by magic. Crawford tried one more time to apologize, to beg, but Hiroshi had already turned away, walking toward me. The moment our eyes met, his expression changed. The ice melted, and there was my husband, worried, protective, full of love. He came straight to me and pulled me into a hug, right there in front of everyone. "Are you okay?" he whispered. I nodded against his chest, and only then did I realize I was shaking. All that composure, all that strength I'd been holding on to. It broke. Not into tears, but into relief. "You came. Did you think I wouldn't? Someone insults my wife, disrespects everything we've built. I would cross oceans to be here. 45 minutes from Tokyo is nothing." He pulled back, looked into my eyes. "I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner." "You were here exactly when I needed you," I said. The restaurant erupted into applause again. Our regular customers, the ones who'd watched this whole drama unfold, were standing, clapping, some wiping tears from their eyes. The family with children came over, the mother hugging me, thanking me for standing up to a bully and showing her kids what dignity looked like. Then Maya appeared from the back, her eyes still red but hopeful. She walked straight to me and hugged me so tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for not letting him win." I held her at arm's length and looked into her eyes. "Maya, you listen to me. Your worth is not determined by how someone treats you. You are smart, hardworking, and kind. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small. You belong here. You matter." She nodded, tears streaming down her face again, but this time they were different tears. Relief, gratitude, hope. Hiroshi and I made our way through the restaurant, stopping at every table. We apologized for the disruption, thanked them for their support, and offered desserts on the house. But nobody wanted to leave. The atmosphere had completely transformed. What had been uncomfortable and tense was now warm, almost celebratory. People were talking, sharing their own stories of standing up to bullies, of witnessing injustice. One elderly woman, Mrs. Patterson, who'd been coming to our restaurant every Friday for 2 years, grabbed my hand. "I've watched you work so hard to make this place special," she said. "Tonight you showed us why it is special. Not because of the food, though that's wonderful, but because you have values. You protected your employee. You stood your ground. That's rare, sweetheart. That's precious." We found out later, through the grapevine of the business community, that Mr. Crawford's life unraveled pretty quickly after that night. The video of his behavior went viral, not because we shared it, but because multiple guests had filmed it on their phones. His company removed him as CEO within a week. 3 major business deals fell through. His reputation in the business community was destroyed. Not because of revenge, but because people finally saw who he really was when he thought nobody important was watching. That's the thing about cruelty. It always comes out eventually. You can hide it for a while, use it when you think you're safe, but eventually, everyone sees the truth. As for Maya, she's still with us. Actually, she just got promoted to shift supervisor. She's confident now, strong, one of our best employees. She tells new staff members the story sometimes, about the night someone tried to break her, and how she learned that standing up for what's right isn't about being loud or aggressive. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to accept less. Our restaurant? We're doing better than ever. The story spread, and people wanted to support a business that stood by its values. We get letters sometimes from people thanking us for showing that kindness and strength can coexist, that success doesn't mean you lose your humanity. So what did I learn that night? I learned that respect isn't about money or status or power. It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone you meet. That waitress you're rude to? She might own the place, but even if she doesn't, even if she's working 3 jobs just to survive, she still deserves your respect. That delivery person you ignore? They might be putting their kids through college. That janitor you walk past without acknowledgement? They might be someone's hero. I learned that standing up for what's right isn't always easy. Sometimes you have to stand there and take insults, stay professional when everything in you wants to scream. But that strength, that dignity, it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. You have to look in the mirror and be proud of who you see. And I learned that true partnership, like what Hiroshi and I have, means showing up for each other. He dropped everything, crossed an ocean metaphorically speaking, because someone hurt me. Not because he thought I couldn't handle it, but because he knew I shouldn't have to handle it alone. If you're someone facing this kind of treatment right now, from a customer, a boss, a stranger, hear me clearly. Your worth is not defined by how someone else treats you. Their cruelty says everything about them and nothing about you. Stand tall, stay strong, keep your dignity intact, and know that eventually, always, the truth comes out. Bullies always fall, one way or another. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories like this one. Comment below. Have you ever stood up to a bully? What would you have done in my situation? Have you ever witnessed someone being treated unfairly? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message today, someone who needs to be reminded that respect costs nothing but means everything, that kindness matters, that standing up for what's right is always worth it, even when it's hard. Remember, every person you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about. Be kind. Be respectful. Be the person who lifts others up instead of tearing them down. Because at the end of the day, how you treat people when you think nobody's watching, that's who you really are. I'm Ava, and thank you for listening to my story. Until next time, remember, your character is your legacy. Make it count. See you in the next one.